The two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. Mark Twain. Welcome to Richersoul, your journey to a more purposeful, intentional, amazing life. Where are you going to go and how are you going to get there? Let's figure that out together. At the core is financial well-being to be able to do what you want, when you want, how you want. Today we're going to talk about purpose. For my wife, this was easy. She knew at 5 years old she wanted to be an accountant. For the rest of us, we sometimes take a lifetime to figure out what we want, if we ever do. That's normal. At least for me it was. However, purpose is the cornerstone that allows us to make every decision that we want with intention. It allows us to move towards our target. Many of us end up in the drift. Life gives us choices and opportunities and we take them. However, we don't see the end goal, and we let the choices of our life be built on a lottery of what other people decide for us. That begs the question. Why? I meet a lot of people who are financially successful in that they have a great income, but they feel like something is missing, or they wonder how they ended up where they are because it's not where they intended to go. When I coach people, I ask them about their bigger purpose and their life plan. The answer is generally they haven't thought about some dream, but they don't have anything written down, nor have they actually thought through what it means to actually achieve what it is that they want. Let me clarify here. Let's say you want to be a sports star, basketball player. What does that mean? Let's start with the fact that you may have to play for a team you don't love and move your family to Detroit. Are you okay with that? You have to practice, and I mean hours and hours a day, lifting, working out, and working on the basic ball skills to get you to where you want to go. Does that grind actually fit in with what you're willing to do, what you find enjoyable? You have to give up your social time to travel and play the game thousands of times at a much lower level than the pro level. Too often we look at the glory, and we don't look at the 10 years of work and struggle that it took for someone to get there. Once you are successful and you make it to the NBA, every day there are people on TV who are trash-talking your ability, saying you suck. Fans are no better. Are you willing to deal with all that negativity? Everyone assumes you're rich. And while Kobe Bryant makes $30 million a year, Orlando Johnson of the Phoenix Sun makes $55,000, which isn't much of a reward for all that work. And then what's next after basketball? Let's face it, it's a young man's game. You need to take performance drugs maybe that will shorten your lifespan, and then there's injuries. Far more people are hurt before ever making it to the NBA than make it to the NBA. Remember, this is just an example. We could do the same thing with being a doctor, having to miss your kid's party because you're on call and your pager goes off, and the decades of training and enormous expense that go into becoming a doctor to deal with the massive insurance paperwork that you'll probably hate. It's not what you always think it's going to be. The point is, you need to truly know that what it means to be where you are going. Many times we have a distorted vision of what success really is. The CEO doesn't just fly around on private jets, eat fancy dinners, and plays golf. There's a lot more to it. It's not an easy task at all to figure out where you want to go. For me, I spent a lot of time trying to figure this out. And most of the time, I thought of things that I didn't want to do versus the things that I did. But that at least makes it easier to decide and narrow down on the things that you do want to do. One other factor to consider is how the world changes and how the time required for you to get to your goals may change where you end up. When I was growing up, getting good grades, going to college, getting a good job, buying a nice house, and having a couple of kids was the expected dream. Today, people are finding out that college doesn't guarantee a job, but it may leave you with massive debt. And the houses that people bought in 2006 are worth less today than they paid. So much for that dream. They used to say, eat all the food on your plate. There's a kid starving in China. Well, now the new saying is probably, you better study harder because there's a kid in China who's going to take your job. All right, enough with the depressing. That's not the purpose, but more about thinking through what something actually means in your life and living with intention. Now, let's begin. This step is the cornerstone for everything. So you need to at least get moving on it. If you don't know where you're going, I can't help you get there. In the words of Lewis Carroll from Alice in Wonderland, Alice, would you tell me please which way I ought to go from here? The Cheshire Cat. That depends a good deal on where you want to get to. Alice, I don't care much where. The Cheshire Cat. Then it doesn't matter which way you go. Alice, so long as I get somewhere. The Cheshire Cat. Oh, you're sure to do that, if only you walk long enough. Is this your life? A long walk with no destination? Remember, we talked about baking a cake. You have all the ingredients, but instead of following the order, you take the frosting and line the pan. You crack an egg into it, dump the sugar, and bake it. Now you take it out and you add flour and water to the mix and serve. How great is that cake? Not something I want to eat. And it's not a life you probably want to live. So while you may have all the right parts, you need to put these things together in the right order and the mixture that works for you, not for someone else. I have people all the time asking me about financial advice. And the first question I ask them is about their goals. What are their plans? Where they're going? The reality is, most people can't tell me what they are. They don't have them written down. This is why a lot of the financial advice you hear so many times is wrong for you. It's not going to create the life you want. It's a generic recipe for a generic life, and that's not you. Speaking of which, I don't sell investments. I don't sell insurance. I don't have any license to sell any of that stuff. I'm just some guy on a podcast, so make sure you actually get real advice from people who know about these products as you go through and make them different parts of your financial life. I also don't know you, so I can't give you the recipe for your life. However, I can share the tools and help educate you to get started on your path. Because people don't know where they're going, one of the biggest mistakes people make is to focus on retirement savings, but they never save anything for life between 21 and 65. 67, by the way, for you now with Social Security, and maybe even later, depending on how young you are. That's why knowing our purpose and our target is important in deciding what your plan is going to be. It's a long time between 21 and 65. We should enjoy it with purposeful intention. So, what's your target and how are you going to figure it out? For me, this was extremely difficult. I spend more time crossing off the stuff that I didn't want than knowing what I did. I found with people who I approach me that they don't think through their largest target goals and how it fits in with the life they want to lead. For example, one person wanted to be a doctor and go to medical school. However, they already have kids. How does going to medical school fit in with the goal of raising kids? How can we achieve both? And maybe we need to redefine the bigger picture of why being a doctor is important, and then finding a different way to achieve the same end results. One of the issues with creating that big picture for our lives is being held back. We all have limiting beliefs that prevent us from achieving what we want, along with fears that prevent us from taking action. You could call these some of the habits that we have as well. And there are rich habits and there are poor habits. We'll probably spend an entire episode talking about the difference between rich habits and poor habits. But let's talk about some of these money scripts. As we grow up, we create and learn money scripts and life scripts. Most of these occur while we're kids between the age of 5 and 13. These scripts can hold us back from our best future and limit the possible paths that we see going forward. 2 takeaways here. Number 1, don't create limiting scripts for your kids, family, or friends. And number 2, learn to overcome some of these rules in your life that are imposed upon you. One of the leaders who's done a lot of research in this area is Dr. Brad Klontz. He's researched these money scripts, and he's also a financial psychologist, an associate professor of financial psychology and behavioral finance at Creighton University Heider College of Business, and an author of many books. Here are some of the top money scripts that he talks about. More money makes life better. It's thinking money buys us happiness. Money is bad. The rich are bad. The opposite thinking that money makes people unhappy or bad. I wonder if the Occupy Wall Street movement realized that they were in the top 1% of worldwide income. Another one is I don't deserve money. It's a lack of self-confidence. Family may be holding you back. Another is I deserve to spend more money. This comes in entitlement spending, thinking that we deserve everything. Another limiting belief is that there will never be enough money. Think about the misers who never spend, no matter how much they have. And then there's the opposite. There will always be enough money. These are usually people who grew up having everything handed to them, or those who assume God will take care of all their needs. Both of these are based on the belief that our action or inaction has no results. And then there's the people who think money is unimportant. This is an excuse for lack of planning or drive in one's life. Some people think money will give them meaning, thinking that money is the key to answering all of their problems. Another, especially in the United States, is it's not nice to talk about money. People don't like to talk about money beliefs towards money, share their mistakes. As a family, you need to talk about money. Another is, if you're good, God/the universe will supply all your needs. This is a belief that good karma or God will bring you the results from being blessed, and you'll get all the money that you need. In addition to these money scripts, there is something called rules, as described best by Vishen Lakhiani. These are beliefs that define what you believe. However, some of these rules are simply BS rules, and they don't serve you. For example, you have to work hard to be successful. Money makes you happy. Kids want you to buy them stuff. I have to be on a restrictive diet to lose weight. I have to work for a company to be successful. I need a big house and a fancy car to be happy. And so many more that are just not true. Between the money scripts and the BS rules, we're stuck on that hamster wheel, constantly running, trying to get ahead. These scripts and rules hold us back. They cause fear, confusion, regrets, and hopelessness. It doesn't have to be this way. Small steps. Remember we talked about leaping with a parachute so you can safely land in case of trouble? That's what we're going to focus on, taking little steps that get us going in the right direction. So let's get back to your purpose. One thing that can help you overcome these limiting beliefs is exercises that open your mind to possibilities. The simplest one is one that I've mentioned before. What happens if you win the lottery and now you have all the money that you'll ever need? What are you going to do? Take it a step further and say, at the end of your life as the winner of the lottery, what's the eulogy that's going to be read for you? So here comes homework. Yes, there's homework. As I told you before, you're going to have to do the work, and it's not always easy. But if you want to get the big results, that's what it's all about. So your homework is to write down your eulogy. What's your end game? This exercise might take you weeks, and you may need to keep refining it as you challenge what you wrote down. Do you know how the Nobel Prize came to be? Turns out Alfred Nobel invented dynamite, and we all know what that does to people. When his brother died in 1888, several newspapers incorrectly published obituaries of Alfred in error of his brother. They called him the Merchant of Death and said the Merchant of Death is dead. Well, Alfred Nobel didn't like the outcome, so he set out to change it. And he left the bulk of his wealth to establish the Nobel Prizes, and now we have a different view of him. He decided to write his eulogy. What about you? Are you ready to change your future and your eulogy? How do you want it to read? I just wrote mine for the first time at 50. I'll put it in the show notes and you can read mine. Once you can get that bigger picture into your mind, you can start to move forward. There are a lot of people who can teach you how to put together a life plan. I happen to like one called Living Forward from Michael Hyatt. He just put out a book on this very topic, and it includes a format for the plan, the steps to take, examples of what others have written. I just finished mine, and it's good to finally know where I'm going. Yes, at 50, I finally got the plan together. Thankfully, I already had my financial plan in place at 21, so that part was already great. I'm going to link it in the show notes to the website. I don't get paid from him, so it's just a suggestion, something that worked for me. I can't reiterate how important this is. When people ask me for advice, I struggle with what to tell them because they don't know where they are going, so it's pretty generic and limiting. In the meantime, the world has changed, and it's changing even faster. It used to be that you went to school, got good grades, got into college, and got a job with a company for life. Got married, had kids and a dog, and bought a nice house and retired at 65. I've got to tell you, I think that's all gone. I don't at all expect that to be the life for my kids. It doesn't exist anymore. What company is going to give you a job for 40 years today? What they're saying currently is most companies in the S&P 500 won't even be here in 20 years. And most jobs that will be abundant in 20 years haven't even been created today. So we have to prepare for that. The rules have changed, the concept of work has changed, and the ability to take a few years off and do something different is possible now, or to have a location-independent business, or to do piecemeal work like driving Uber or building a virtual business. It's all possible today, and it's amazing. And we're going into new and uncharted territory. They don't teach you about any of this in school. The rules your parents and all the generations before us grew up with don't apply anymore. When I was in my 20s and 30s, the internet didn't exist like it does today. I couldn't create my own books and sell them to the world, market handmade items through Etsy, have a storefront on eBay, sell consulting services through so many different platforms. We're literally in a new world. The last time a change of this epic proportion happened is when we went from a farming society to a manufacturing society. So all those limiting beliefs and rules, they don't apply to us anymore. Don't follow them. Live a richer and more meaningful life. So, do you know what that purpose is and have a plan to make happen? Awesome. If not, find someone great at creating life plans and buy their book or course or sit down with them and have them help you create yours. If you want your life to be on your terms, you need to know what they are. Otherwise, you're playing the lottery of life and letting other people choose you instead of you choosing for yourself. Once you have a plan, all the difficult to answer questions become so easy. Because you look at the plan, you see if it fits, and if it's better than something you're already doing. If yes, go ahead. If no, then say no. Once we know the target, it's so easy to start practicing hitting the target. Now understand, you may not be perfect, but you're moving in the right direction. Small steps over time compound, and then massive success occurs. However, the compound interest curve rides more like a roller coaster than it does like a jet taking off. While the curve does bring success, there are ups and downs. It's not a question if you're going to fall, but rather will you get back up and keep going when you do? Or do you give up? If you give up, you start over, and then you're like that plane turning onto a new runway at 0 miles per hour. Sometimes it's necessary, and if you're a good pilot, it's easy to take off again. However, if you've never gotten off the ground, it's not going to be easy, and that's why you have to keep going. This is going to be a very hard step. It took me a life of wandering and then another year of exploring to come up with a target, and then even more to get it down and moving in that direction. Then again, some people I know, they just know. Okay, let's envy those people who know. Once you know your direction, you have to work out all the steps to achieve what needs to be done to get you there. Life is that journey, not in the destination. Make sure you pick a big enough journey and don't feel bad if it changes along the way. Somewhere buried inside of you, like peeling the layers of an onion to get to the core, is your purpose. Let's start peeling. A little advice before we get to some questions. Don't pick goals that are limiting. For example, you may say, I want to go to Australia. However, over time, you may change your mind. So a bigger goal is, I want to travel to different exciting places. This doesn't limit you. Here are some questions. Many of these come from a great coach. His name is Rich Litvin. Imagine winning the lottery, and I suggest you buy one because it really does help. So question 1, what are you going to do? Where are you going to live? Who do you help? Where are you going? Why? That's a big question. Why? Just keep asking yourself over and over why until you get to the real reason. How do you want to be remembered? Where are you making a contribution to something bigger than yourself? What people, places, and habits fill you with energy? What people, places, and habits drain you of energy? These are the things we want to get rid of. What's the legacy that you're going to leave? What is that one thing when you're doing it, you totally forget about time? What does your heart long for? What do you want to learn? There's so many more questions. Ask them of yourself. Go take the time to shut everything else off and just think. Find a peaceful place and just start writing down your answers. This is not going to be something that happens in minutes, but rather months. It's your turn to pick your life without anyone else's rules, limits, or desires. So, what will I know you for? Before we close out this session, I want you to understand my role. It's a dual role. Part 1 is conductor. No, they're not the guy on the train collecting tickets. The one who stands in front of the orchestra. Too often in life, we have so many competing priorities. We need to find a way to keep them in harmony. Many times, work jumps on us or our family pulls us one way and our finances go south. Having someone to help look over all of those pieces and help us find balance is the job of a conductor. The second role is Sherpa. If you want to climb Mount Everest, you need a few Sherpas, guides who know the way and can help you get to the top. In both of these roles, it's you that has to do the work. I'm just a guide here to help you, to teach, and to show a path. By the way, I think I have figured out my purpose. I help people achieve financial freedom so they can live the life they desire. The cool part about such a purpose is, 1, I get to have financial freedom and live the life I want, and I can teach this to my kids so they can get a massive head start on their lives. So it's time for you to think about your life. What would it look like if you won the lottery? And how is your eulogy going to read? In the next episode, we're going to talk about health, how to make sure they don't read that eulogy of yours for a very, very long time.